All right, we're going to get started. Good evening. Welcome to the June 25th, 2019 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. To my left is Mr. Carter Falk, who's the Deputy Planning Manager for the city. Across the way, we have Mr. Steve Lionel, who's our Vice President, Mr. Robert Shaw, Ms. Marianne McKay, who's our Secretary, and I'm J.P. Boucher, your Chairman. This meeting is recorded by written transcript, audio tape, and video. We ask that you please direct all testimony into the microphone and only one person speak at a time. If you don't have tonight's agenda, you'll find it on the back table in back of the auditorium. Tonight we'll be hearing requests for deviations from the Nashua Zoning Code and form of applications for special exceptions and variances. And I'll explain both of those. A special exception is a request that seeks permission to do something that the zoning ordinance permits only under special circumstances. The 5 criteria required for this board to grant a request for a special exception are: 1, the requested use must be listed in the table of use regulations as a special exception. 2, the requested use will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. 3, the requested use will not overload any public water, drainage, sewer system, or any other municipal system such that other areas of the city will be subjected to hazards affecting health, safety, or general welfare. 4, any special regulations for the use set forth in other sections of the zoning ordinance are fulfilled. And 5, the requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district of adjoining zones, nor be detrimental to the health, morals, or welfare of the residents of Nashua. A variance is a request that seeks permission to do something that the ordinance does not permit. The 5 criteria that need to be established for the approval of a variance are: the variance will not be contrary to public interests, the spirit of the ordinance is observed, substantial justice is done, the values of surrounding properties are not diminished, and literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship. Per the City of Nashua bylaws, a minimum of 3 or more affirmative votes are required to approve any application. In addition, this board will hear any and all scheduled cases as long as a quorum of 3 voting board members are present at this meeting, which we have a quorum tonight. Any citizen has the right to contest a decision that this board makes. Should we make a decision that you believe is an error, you have the right to request a rehearing. A written rehearing request must be received through Mr. Falk and the City of Nashua Planning Department within 30 calendar days from the day after a decision was made. Should this board not grant a rehearing request, you can file an appeal directly to the New Hampshire Superior Court, and you can contact Mr. Falk for more information. Per our approved Zoning Board of Adjustment bylaws, the review and decision of each application occurs in 2 parts. The first part is what we call the public hearing. This is where the applicant and the citizens address this board and speak to the merits of the case. The order of testimony is as follows. First, the applicant will have 15 minutes to present their case. Then those in favor will have a limit of 5 minutes each to speak. Then those in opposition or with questions will have a limit of 5 minutes each to speak. Then the applicant has 5 minutes to speak in rebuttal. And then finally, a representative and only one person of those in opposition or with questions will have 5 minutes to speak in rebuttal. We ask that you please direct all testimony to this board and not to anyone in the audience. If you have any questions about the application, they are to be directed to the board and we'll get them answered. The second part of tonight's meeting is called the public meeting. This is where the board debates the merits of the case amongst ourselves. Please note that during the public meeting, there is no testimony allowed from the audience. We ask that you silence your cell phones, and if you need to have a conversation, we just ask you to step out in the hallway. Mr. Falk, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, there are not.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions before we get started? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the first case. First case is owner Michael and Amanda Bassamy, I'm sorry, 4 Faxon Ave. The description is Michael H. and Amanda M. Bassamy, owners of 4 Faxon Ave, Sheet 9, Lot 33, requesting a special exception from Land Use Code, Section 190-47, Section B, to allow a major home occupation for an in-home music teaching studio. This is in the RB zone. So you just give us your name and address for the record, please?
Sure.
And feel free to talk into the microphone. If it's too high or away, just feel free to pull it out if you have to.
Okay. My name is Michael Busmaji,
And I'm Amanda Busmaji.
and we live at 4 Faxon Avenue in Nashua.
Okay, just kind of, we have your application, just kind of tell us what you want to do in a property.
Okay, so like the application says, we run an in-home music studio called AB Music School, and we're here requesting a special exception for the major home occupation. Amanda is the primary instructor. No one else teaches or works there. I just kind of handle the paperwork, taxes, that kind of thing. So we're the only employees of the business. She teaches brass, woodwind, strings, and piano to individual private lessons. So it's just one student at a time. And I think I gave the planning board, Kate Poirier, woman, the student schedule. Do you have that schedule?
Yeah, we have that.
You have it, okay. So you'll see most of the students are on Mondays with a few students on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So we have about, I think, 13, 14 students total, 12 unique visitors each week. So I'll go through the criteria. So the first one is that the requested activity is listed in the City of Nashua City Zoning Ordinance, Table 15.1. So under Table 15.1 in Article 190.15, the land use of the land use / zoning districts and supplemental use regulations. Our business falls under use 251, schools, art, music, dance, dramatics, or other fine arts, which is listed as conditional use requiring a permit from the planning board, for which we've already applied and submitted our permit fee. And as we have more than 3 visitors per week, we require the special exception for the major home occupation, for which purpose we're here today. We're already in compliance with all the conditions set forth in 190.47B for the major home occupation. There are no non-residents employed, only 64 square feet of usage specific to the business from the existing gross floor area of the house. Business is conducted only within the building and requires no change or alteration to the internal or external character of the structure. There is no exterior storage or display, advertising, commercial vehicle, or external indication of any type that there is a business in the structure. The only goods sold on the premises are knowledge, which is produced on the premises and made to order for each client. The business does not create any nuisance, noise, or otherwise than experienced in any other residential dwelling. Our next door neighbor tells us that they can't hear our lessons at all as they take place in the basement. And lastly, the use does not cause any vehicular traffic on our street. Typically, it's just one additional car that's parked in front of our house, and they only park in front of our house. Occasionally, there's 2 cars, only when there's a transition in students, and it's only for a few minutes at a time. Most clients come between the hours of 5:30 or 10 a.m. and 5:30 to 6 p.m. is the last students we have. Number 2, traffic, as I just stated, does not create any undue traffic congestion or impair pedestrian safety. Public utilities, there's no increased strain on public water drainage or sewer utilities as a result of our business. Parents occasionally can use the bathroom in our house, but otherwise, that's it. As far as special regulations, I'm not aware of any other special exception regulations required for the use. And the character of the neighborhood, our use does not impair the integrity and is not out of character with the district or immediate neighborhood and is in no way detrimental to the health, morals, or welfare of the residents of the city. We just teach music. We make sure that we're not impeding any of our neighbors or causing any nuisance to anybody. So if you have any other specific questions about the business, we'll be happy to answer them, but that's really all we have.
Any questions? Mr. Shaw?
I guess mine would just be mostly to kind of confirm a few things, mostly I think what you've said, but more just like that it's kind of limitations that you would plan on having, again, would be that you're the only 2 employees actively conducting the business.
Correct.
I guess the other thing I wanted to explore was the kind of hours. I know you've alluded to mostly between 10 and 6:30. The schedule kind of shows Monday to Friday, but are you willing to kind of state or limit the days and the times, whatever that is, to certain time periods?
Absolutely. If there's, any problem in the neighborhood, we're more than willing to accommodate any, issues that it may have. If after work hours are what's impeding on the neighborhood, if there happens to be something like that, I'm more than willing to move people around to accommodate that.
And as far as days of the week, she works a part-time job Wednesday through Friday, and we're not anticipating adding really any more students on any other day other than maybe Tuesday. because that's the only day with her availability.
Yeah, I kind of want to make sure whatever we're, kind of granting, that there's a kind of a common understanding. And so I think if you wanted to present that there's still the possibility it could be Monday to Friday, even though right now the schedule is only Monday through Wednesday. But especially I'm probably more concerned about things like, would there be any weekend, classes, evening classes, those kind of things. So mostly just trying to make sure we have a pretty good sense of what the basic
yeah.
kind of plan and limitations are.
Absolutely. So I made it clear to my students that I'm not willing to work on Thursday and Friday, or really the weekends. I like to keep those free. Plus, with my other job, it's a little stressful. So I try to I don't, unless there needs to be like a once in every 6 months makeup during that time. If that's the only thing that needs to happen, that's the only time I would normally do like a Thursday or Friday. Never a weekend.
But if we have to limit it to Monday through Wednesday, we're happy to do that, because we don't like to
Absolutely.
open it up to our students anyway.
I don't think there's necessarily a need to. I was just trying to get a sense of things, but I also wanted to make sure that there wasn't something where you thought you might likely go to the other days, or if you want to be restricted, specifically. So that's all. I think doesn't seem like it's a great concern to me personally. I'm more concerned about again, kind of the overall scope, and I think you've pretty well presented what that is. So I think I feel, like I have got a good understanding. So I think that's all I had right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think we're all set for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else like to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none. Anybody with questions or concerns with this application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Mr. Shaw.
I'm very comfortable with this application. I think it's, despite the term major home occupation, it's really a pretty minor and small level, I think, type of business, and one that I think will not have any significant impact on the neighborhood. So I feel pretty good about everything.
Excuse me.
Could you speak up a little?
No, I just had a question. When you just made your last comment about
Well,
going into a public meeting,
what-
we do have some oppositions that we
okay,
would like
I
to
asked,
speak about.
all right, so let me just hold on.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion to reopen the public hearing. Do I have a second? Mr. Shaw, seconded. All in favor? 4-0. All right, ma'am, come on up. I'm sorry, I had asked for opposition.
Well, you didn't say opposition, that's why we were all kind of like
Questions or concerns?
concerns. That's why we were like a
I
little concerned.
apologize.
My name is Danielle Decker-Vicenti. I live at 3 Faxon Avenue. I have lived there for 5 years. We have some concerns. It's a very small dead-end street. I have 4 children. We moved to this neighborhood because it was a small neighborhood. It was very quiet. It was very personal. The kids get along great. They were able to play right in front of the house. We've never had a concern until the last maybe 5 months, when my son almost got ran over by a car that was coming to the residence at 4 Faxon Avenue. Our other concern is the trash barrels go in front of 4 Faxon Avenue. It's been that way even before I moved in. The snow goes on my side of the road. The trash goes on 4 Faxon Avenue's side. With our trash being picked up on Monday and them having clients or, people there to do lessons on Mondays, it does impede the trash pickup. They've had people park there. I've gone now twice without my trash being picked up. I've had to fight with Nashua DPW to get it picked up. My barrel was left there for them to pick it up. The residents of 4 Faxon Avenue moved my barrel to the point where my trash was not picked up. I have a family of 6 in my apartment. I cannot have a trash barrel full for a whole week and then I have nowhere to put my trash. I mean, it's just concerning. There are vehicles always on the road. I have taken multiple pictures when they say that it's just, a matter of 5 minutes. Today it was 15 minutes, 2 vehicles parked on the other side of the road. And I watched everybody coming in and out of the home. And there was a vehicle on the other side of the road. I could not get my pickup truck down the road. And I live on the end in the very last driveway. It makes it very difficult. I have a son that is asthmatic. I have a husband who's had a stroke now. I can't get an ambulance down the street when they have all their vehicles there. It is very concerning. Thank you.
Hold on, any questions? No, okay. Is there anybody else with questions, concerns, opposition to this application? Okay, seeing none. Ma'am, you have 5 minutes to come back. Both of you have 5 minutes to come back if you'd like to speak in regards to what you've just heard.
Absolutely, thank you.
Just say your name and address again for their record.
Okay, so I'm Amanda Basmaji. This is Michael Basmaji. We live at 4 Faxon Avenue.
I guess I'd start by saying that we've never heard any of these concerns directly. We never heard about this car that almost hit their child. You know, when we've been open, we wanted to have a dialogue with our neighbors, but I feel like there's always been some underlying hostility. The very first week we moved into our home, there was an issue with the trash pickup because we didn't know that the trash for our whole dead-end street was put in front of our home, which we understand and it's okay.
And her trash was not picked up, and I do agree with what she said there. But the reason for that was not because of the cars that were on the road. It was because of my own personal error. I put the lawn clippings, the bags, next to our trash can, and it wasn't 3 feet away. And that was acknowledged in the conversation that we had at our
Right.
house.
And we wrote them a letter of apology. We gave them our phone number and our information to contact us if they had any further issues, but we've never actually had them come to us with any of their issues. The second incident was over the winter time. It was like President's Day or some holiday in February where the trash was being picked up on Tuesday instead of Monday.
Which was stated by the Nashua DPW on the internet.
Right. So Tuesday morning, the trash barrels were already out front at like
Monday.
7 a.m. in the morning.
On Monday morning.
Or Monday morning, right. On Monday morning, the trash was already out, and I went out to shovel the spots in front of our house. And these are just the spots on the front of our house. They're like, if we had a visitor of any other type, it's not like they're really that sticking out that far in the street. Anyway, I was shoveling out the spots, and I had to move the trash can, so I moved it across the street next to their driveway in order to clear the space. And then her husband came out and threatened to call the police on me because I touched his personal property, even though I think it's the property of the town of Nashua. I hashed it out with the husband. I explained to him that, you know, we're just trying to open up parking spots because we have a few students coming today, and, you know, I asked him if he could just move his trash can to the other side of the street until the evening, and he agreed, and that was it. So I didn't think that there was any kind of further issue. I thought we had hashed it out, but if our neighbors have problems, then we're happy to talk about it and make accommodations.
And in regards to trash pickup, so my first student on Monday mornings, which is usually where the trash day happens, I do not have a student until 10:30 in the morning. And trash pickup usually happens before people leave for work
usually
in the
around
morning.
7 a.m.
Around 7 a.m. And then to clear space for cars that need to park outside of my house, I return the barrels to their location in front of the house. So 3 Faxon Ave I will put in front of 3. Anything else that isn't labeled or I can't, or is pretty far away, I'll move them back onto my own personal property, onto the sidewalk, just to clear it up a little bit so we do have that available parking if necessary. And if this has caused any problem in the neighborhood, I sincerely apologize, and it's okay. I'll leave them there from now on, and just wait until 5 p.m. when people happen to pick them up. And I apologize if that has caused an issue. And really quickly, as for the parking situation, and so there is enough room for people to be parking on both sides of the road, and allow people to come up and down the neighborhood. This has happened on multiple occasions. We're not the only offenders here. There are plenty of people in the neighborhood there's a corner house who happens to park on the road in case they need to swap their cars around. The lady at 3 Faxon also parks her vehicle on the side of the road, and instead of the driveway, just to, in case she needs to run in, which is totally fine. And there is definitely enough room for cars. People do use our own personal driveway for turnarounds, which we haven't complained about before, which is utilized by pretty much the entirety of the neighborhood. And even if there are no cars parked on either side, there still isn't, people still end up using our, our driveway for turnaround time. So, I don't know if I missed anything.
I think that's it.
But again, if there's any accommodations that need to be taken by us, we are more than willing to have a discussion about that and accommodate. We try to be very nice people.
Right.
Try to be very,
Thank you.
yeah, anyways.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Mr. Shaw?
I just wanted to, so there is no restriction on parking on either side of your street, is that correct?
There's no restriction, overnight parking, but that's
Yeah,
with the
standard
city of
overnight
Nashville,
parking,
yeah.
right,
Yep.
but no other limitations?
It's utilized by everybody in the neighborhood. And then there are some people who park kind of a little bit further into the road than their own personal driveways as well, which isn't complained about.
And I think you answered my question, because I had been by a couple of different times. Once down the street, I got halfway down, and I made I think a 4-point turn at that point.
In my driveway?
There was cars on either, and I just didn't want to go and turn on somebody's driveway, just kind of have a think about that. But I think you answered my question. So basically, I saw cars on the street, and not crazy, but again, that's not just for your home. I'm assuming that the cars, some of them were a little further up, so some of the cars that were there when I was there, so I'm assuming that they worked for other people that
It's
live
very
on the street.
common there's two houses at the end of the street who don't have driveways. It's very common for them to park in front of our house or on the other side of the street, in front of the
Absolutely.
3 Faxon Ave.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's fine, because we understand that they have a tricky parking situation.
Yeah, and the majority, I mean, I don't really notice any other of my students parking anywhere besides directly in front of my house, and then also utilizing the driveway.
Yeah, and if we have to have them utilize the driveway more, that's totally fine too.
Absolutely, we will definitely accommodate that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, you now have 5 minutes if you'd like to come back and speak in rebuttal to what they've had to say, or anything else you'd like to share.
Danielle Decker Vicente, 3 Faxon Avenue. My driveway is a 4-car driveway. My landlord is sitting right here. He'll tell you, I don't park my pickup truck on the street. I never have. In the winter, yes, to clean my driveway. I don't need to park there. The only time I've ever pulled up in front of my house is if I have to pick something up, and I'm gone. I don't turn around in their driveway. I do pull to the edge of the driveway because it is a very small street. I think everybody on the street does. The cars that are parked in front of my home are actually the woman that's sitting over there. She does have a driveway that is downhill. They have to back all the way down Faxon Ave to get into their driveway. They have asked us numerous times, is it okay if we park here while we're getting the cars in and out? I have no problem with that. Saying they're nice people, they wrote me a letter. It was very derogative. I do have the letter at home with me at my house. It's been constant battle back and forth with them. We've tried to speak to them. I'm done with the name calling. It's a very quiet neighborhood. I will not put up with it. They want to run a business, then run it somewhere else. Get an office. I run a business. I don't run it out of my home. I have a legit business office that I run out of. I know you can't run it in that neighborhood. That's all I'm asking, is to be courteous of the rest of us. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other residents that we've never had a problem with in 5 years. Never once. Everyone in that neighborhood works together. We get the snow cleaned up. We work together when there's a car. Hey, can you move that car for a second? No problem. When it comes to having to speak to them, it is a constant fight. My husband would never threaten somebody with the police, ever. He will tell you that you don't belong touching our belongings. He is correct on that. We went and researched it all. My boss worked for the DPW. I asked him, and he said, no one is to touch your barrel but you. When they want to say the barrels need to be moved, that is a working neighborhood. We're not all there to be moving our barrels. She doesn't move my barrel. My landlord moves my barrel out of courtesy for them. I don't have to move it. I could leave it there while I'm working all day. So whatever they have to say, you can believe whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it's very frustrating to live in that neighborhood and have to put up with this.
Any questions? Thank you. Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing and open the public meeting. When we have these, sometimes we've had these issues where we've had issues with neighbors. And again, I have to take what I see and what I'm observing with the neighborhood. I'm not doubting that there's been some issues with the neighbors, but at this point, I'm looking at this application and how does this fit in with what we need to do tonight. Again, parking is certainly it's a smaller dead-end street, and I hear about the parking. I don't have a problem if we were to stipulate the cars have to go in their driveway, and if they have to park their cars on the street while they're doing this. I mean, if that's something that we would think about, but at this point, I am leaning towards being in favor of the application. I think this is not, it's not, what we're looking at is not multiple students, multiple type people working there. I think it's a very kind of limited scope. I think that, again, I'll look at it as if I'm a very outgoing, friendly person. I have a lot of friends that come over, it's the same type of thing, I think we can't limit that scope of who's gonna come and visit or who's gonna come. And yes, we're looking at a in-home occupation here. But again, I think that it meets the criteria of the I'm sorry.
Your home occupation?
Yes, yeah, on the second page, the 10 items that the planning department has provided us, I think was addressed. I looked at all these and were addressed by the applicant. And again, I don't think that any one of these is not being met by the applicant. Again, that's, my view on it, and I'd be more than happy to listen to other views on this. Mr. Lino.
Many years ago, I was a music student in a home, obviously not the applicant, but somebody else. So I'm familiar with the way that sort of generally works. I don't have a problem at all with the application as such, but obviously there's some friction in the neighborhood, and although we only had one neighbor come up, there was a suggestion that there were other interested parties in the audience. So I think that maybe if we were to agree to this, that we would have to say, we should say that people coming to the house should park in the driveway at 4 Fax and not in the street. When I went there was nobody parked in the street, and the driveways were empty, and this is the middle of the day during the week. I don't know what it's like in other times, but the testimony we have is that these lessons would be during the midweek, or actually the first part of the week during the day, ending about 6:30 to 7. I know my recollection is that sometimes the lessons went on into the early evening when I did it. I'm inclined to approve this, but I think that we probably should put in a stipulation that requires the visitors to park in their driveway, which did seem to have enough room, at least when I was looking at it. And that's what I'd like to see.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, I definitely think that pursuing that kind of stipulation is worthwhile. In this case, the applicant actually even said that they were willing to accommodate that kind of condition. I guess what I do want to just explore with the board is just making sure. I think there are two items that really kind of, I think, speak to the traffic type concerns or the safety type concerns that were raised by the neighbor. In the criteria, the special regulations criteria, number 10, use will not cause vehicular traffic, which is substantially different from that which currently exists on the street. And then our other second major criteria is will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. So I just wanted to explore that. I mean, we're talking about a fairly limited number of vehicular trips involved in the scope and scale of this business, but it's still potentially more than what might be expected to come to a given residence. So I actually was kind of wondering if either of you that have spoken already have any thoughts about that, or maybe Ms. McKay also. But just that's the one area that it was raised as concern, and I think I just don't know that it's sufficient to kind of rise to that these criteria are not met, but I have some concerns now.
You want my opinion?
Sure. If you,
Okay, so, will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. We've heard kind of situation in the neighborhood. The way I look at this is that by putting in that stipulation, I think what we're doing is we're saying, hey, for the limited trips that we know are going to happen, that yes, there's traffic going in the street. No different, I think, than if UPS is delivering and FedEx is coming in or if somebody's visiting. And I'm just saying that in general. So if we're saying, okay, we're not going to add traffic congestion, to me, I can say that the traffic congestion can be created by parking on streets where there's two cars and you only have one lane to go by. So if we're eliminating that traffic congestion for a period of time, right? Which means the only time that vehicle is actually on the street is when it's coming in or leaving on that short street, right? So it's not parked there on the street, or it's for that purpose, for the purpose of this in-home business. So that's how I look at that. And then the number 10 will not cause vehicular traffic, which is substantially different from that which is currently exists on the street. Again, I think I look at that as I don't think it rises because this is not a business where they're expecting a different client every half hour or something like that, right? Where there's a switch off, or if it was like a daycare, right, where you have this drop off and pickups, and where we've talked, what we've seen in other applications, or kind of type thing, where there's 5 to 10 children coming in and out, right? So you've got multiple trips coming in a period of time that could be overlapping. So I don't think that rises to that state. So I think, really, I'm looking at it that I don't think it rises enough to warrant for me to deny the application as it stands. Ms. McKay.
I concur, I think, with everything that's been said. My street, if you park a car on either side of the street, you've only got room to go right through the middle. And that's just the way they are, and people park on both sides of the street all the time. I looked back on the schedule, and on Monday, there's 9. On Tuesday, there's 2, and on Wednesday, there's 3. That doesn't seem like an awful lot of traffic coming and going on the street. I'm good with or without the stipulation on the driveway. I think that they've responded. I understand the difficulty with trash barrels and, the perceived traffic issues, but having people come to visit, having FedEx, having, UPS, having somebody do lawn work, I mean, when they come in to do yard work, they come in with a truck and a trailer. So that would seem to me more disastrous than having a car come and stop for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then be gone. So I'm inclined to be in favor to this application. It doesn't sound like it creates a huge issue. The one thing when the neighbor mentioned about the child almost getting hit by a car, that could happen to any car, anybody that happens to be maybe not paying attention. And I don't know that it would or would not have happened if it was this particular home that caused a car to come there. I don't know that that was or was not the case. I just think that that could have happened. We all see or saw just recently what cars can do. Anyway, I'm in favor of this application.
Thank you, Ms. McKay. Any other discussion? Mr. Shaw, you?
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
Okay. If no one wants to make a motion, I'll make it. I'll make a motion to approve the special exception from Michael and Amanda Bassamagee, 4 Faxon Ave, Sheet 9, Lot 33, requesting special exception from Land Use Code, Section 190-47, subsection B, to allow a major home occupation from an in-home music teaching studio. It's in the RB district. We find that it is listed in the table of uses. We find it will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. We discussed that in some length with the board and came to the conclusion that it does not rise to that level. Will not overload public water, drainage, or sewer or other municipal system. We find that the special regulations are fulfilled and will not impair the integrity, be out of character of the neighborhood, or be detrimental to health, morals, or welfare of the residents. I'll make also a motion to add a special condition that the parking related to this in-home occupation will be in the driveway. So the trips, the people that are going to come to this business, to come to this home for music lessons, getting dropped off, are to park in the driveway. And with that, I make a motion to approve the special exception. Do I have a second? Mr. Lionel, any discussion? All those in favor? It's 1-0. Congratulations, your motion passes. There is a 30-day window of appeal, so just be aware of that, okay? With that, I'll close case number 1, and
Can you give me a few minutes?
we'll take a 2-minute break here for Mrs. McKay to catch up.
Well, when we went to that planning meeting, I asked the attorney, and they told me exactly what needed to be.
Good?
Yeah, I just wanted to make.
Yeah, have a good night, folks. Okay, I'll open case number 2. Okay, have a good night. I'll open case number 2 for Toll Street Properties Incorporated, Larry Kittle, address is 7 Toll Street. Description is Toll Street Properties Incorporated, owner Larry Kittle, applicant 7 Toll Street, sheet 42, lot 194. Requesting the following: 1, a special exception from Land Use Code Section 190-119 to expand a non-conforming use, and 2, a variance from Land Use Code 190-16, Table 16-Street to encroach 5 feet into the 7-foot required right side yard setback to maintain an existing 5 by 14 open deck. It's in the LB zoning district. Is there somebody here to present the case? Come on up and just give us your name and address, please.
Larry Kittle, you want my home address?
Yeah, just,
7 Toll Street.
yeah,
It's not my home address, but it's my property.
okay, that's good.
So, do you want me to go through all the issues of why this doesn't pertain to any of the concerns? It was a 3 steps down from the side of the house that came out about 3 feet, and instead of rebuilding that, we built a deck that came out 5 feet, because 5 feet out from the side of the building is a stone wall that's about a 5-foot drop. So building the deck made it a lot safer for the people occupying both the front and back apartment, because the building itself is non-conforming. So the side setback of 7 feet, the left side of the house, there's only 4 feet of land. The right side of the house, there's only 7 feet of land. So just to get out of the house to get down to the ground, it makes it non-conforming use, because the building has been there, 100 years, and 100 years ago, they didn't care about that. And that neighborhood is like that. That neighborhood is full of houses that, take the whole lot really is the house.
Okay, we've read your application. So the reason, again, for the reconstruction, I'm assuming, but correct me if I'm wrong, is, again, I looked at it because of that wall, for some safety reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know what the condition of the steps were before that, but.
Pretty bad.
I'm assuming that there was a purpose for that. So it was just to make things more safe for your tenants.
Yeah. Yeah, that building was one of the ugliest, biggest eyesores in the city when we bought it. And now it's, I think, one of the nicest ones on that street, so. And we just wanted to create a safe environment coming out because of that. And we're gonna put a fence or something along there, along the walkway. But now you come out and then you turn and go down the stairs that faces down the walkway, as opposed to coming out the stairs and that drop-off is right there. So it's a much safer, it's kind of a no-brainer from our perspective on what to do there, except for we didn't come to you guys first.
So what brought you here? Somebody?
Well, because we were rehabbing the building and somebody went by it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to present?
I think this is a pretty easy one, pretty cut and dry. It's, we had to go, it had to be a non-conforming use just to get out of the building. And we just, we're 2 feet inside the property, but it kind of had to be done. It doesn't affect anybody around. It doesn't change the character of the neighborhood. It's a benefit to this property and not a detriment to anybody, any public, health. It has no traffic concerns. It's really no impact on anybody else.
Okay.
I'm sure there's nobody here to.
We'll see. Any questions for the applicant? We're all set if you are.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else in the audience like to speak in favor of the application? Anybody in the audience that would like to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition to the application? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Mr. Lino.
I'm in favor of this. I was looking at the property, and I saw that the deck was there, and I had a hard time imagining what it was like without the deck. So I don't have a problem with this.
Mr. Shaw.
I think it's one of those where, especially the fact that it's a clear safety benefit just for the improvements that have been done, and the property is so limited by its existing nonconformity that I think this all makes sense when put together, so I'm totally fine with it.
I concur with what's already been said.
I'm also in favor. Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll do it.
And which one are we doing first?
So we're gonna do the special exception first.
Okay, oh, I see. So we have a special exception added.
Special
All right,
exceptions
so we'll
that expand the nonconforming. and-
Okay, we're doing a special exception first, okay. I'd like to make a motion on behalf of the owner, Toll Street Properties, Inc. The applicant is Larry Kittle. The address is 7 Toll Street. sheet 42, lot 194, requesting the following. Special exception from Land Use Code Section 190-119 to expand a non-conforming use. This is to maintain an existing 5-foot by 14-foot open deck. This is listed in the table of uses. The board finds it will not create undue traffic congestion or impair pedestrian safety. In fact, the board believes that this will improve safety all around. The board believes it will have no effect on public water, drainage, sewer, or other municipal systems. Special regulations are fulfilled, and it will not impair integrity or be out of character with the neighborhood or be detrimental to health, morals, or welfare of the residents. So I'm making a motion to approve the special exception.
Seconded by Mr. Shaw. Any discussion? All in favor? 4-0. You want us to wait a minute, or are you good?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion on behalf of Toll Street Properties, applicant Larry Kittle, address 7 Toll Street. This is requesting a variance from Land Use Code 190-16, Table 16-3, to encroach 5 feet into the 7-foot required right yard setback to maintain an existing 5-foot by 14-foot open deck. The board finds that this variance is needed to enable the applicant's proposed use of the property, given the special conditions of the property, the tight boundaries up to the property line, and the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other reasonable method other than the variance. The board believes that this is within the spirit and intent of the ordinance. It will have no adverse effect on the property values of surrounding parcels. It is not contrary to the public interest, and substantial justice would be served. So I make a motion to approve the area variance.
Seconded by Mr. Shaw. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's 4-0. Congratulations, your application is approved. 30-day window of appeal, but highly unlikely. With that, I'll close case number 2, and I will wait for Ms. McKay to catch up before I call case number 3. Mr. Maynard, we have a real fancy camera there if you'd like. That'll just, we have a fancy camera. If you put that piece of paper there, it'll show it.
I tried it before, it's not that great. The planning board uses it too.
Thank you, sir.
All set, Mr. Chair?
Is that Ms. McKay? Yes. Let me call the case in, sorry. I'd like to open case number 3, which is the owner Matthew Lambert, address is 90 Lake Street, descriptions Matthew M. Lambert, owner, 90 Lake Street, sheet 102, lot 9, requesting variance from Land Use Code Section 190-16, Table 16-3, for a lot density to reduce existing 13,610 square foot lot with a 3-unit multifamily building to a 7,610 square foot lot, 18,669 square feet required by subdividing off one 6,000 square foot lot to construct a new single-family home. It's in the RBLB district. Welcome, Mr. Maynard.
For the record, my name is Richard Maynard, professional engineer with Maynard Parkett Engineering of Nashua, representing the applicant and property owner, Matthew Lambert, who is with me in the audience. The property of concern is located at 90 Lake Street at the corner of Lakeside Street in the RB zone. The property is also known as map 102, lot 9. It contains a 3-family house on 13,610 square feet of land. The minimum lot size in the RB zone is 6,000 square feet. The proposal is to subdivide off a 6,000 square foot lot for a new single-family home. The existing 3-family home would remain on a 7,610 square foot lot with a per-unit density of 2,537 square feet per unit versus the RB density of 6,223 square feet per unit. The property is located on busy Lake Street in a very mixed-use commercial and high-density residential neighborhood. To the south is the Corville Nursing Home with 146 units and a per-unit density of only 1,151 square feet per unit. To the north is a 30-unit building with a per-unit density of 1,276 square feet per unit. As indicated by the area use map, which you folks should have copies, I unfortunately had to put them in two pieces, but as indicated by the area use map, the lots outlined in black do not conform to the current requirements for square footage per residential units. This neighborhood also contains retail stores, auto repair, an office building, commercial warehouses, and other high-density residential uses. As you see from the area map, roughly half of the lots are non-conforming with regard to residential density. After subdivision, the lots would have 55% and 62% green or open space versus the ordinance requirement of 35%. This subdivision, unlike the current neighborhood, would not be overcrowded. The existing parking is along Lake Street, which requires tenants to back into Lake Street to exit, which is an unsafe situation. Folks that had a chance to drive out to look at the site, the parking lot is right off of Lake Street. It's only one car deep. The only way in and out is to back in and out. Under our proposal, parking would be to the rear of the property, accessed by a driveway off of Lake Street. This would be a significant safety improvement and also improve the appearance of the property. New construction of a moderate single-family home would benefit the public interest in several ways. It would provide some badly needed housing for a young family. It would improve the appearance of this section of the neighborhood, and new construction would enhance property values. I gave you a letter from Blackwood Realty, which essentially tells you that what we're proposing would enhance property values in the neighborhood and would not have a detriment. In summarizing, the proposal meets the criteria for granting of a variance in all respects. It's very much in character with this mixed-use commercial and high-density residential neighborhood. It will benefit the public interest in providing some moderate housing and also eliminate the safety issues of cars backing out onto Lake Street. Overall, it will enhance property values and improve the appearance of this area. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Maynard?
Oh, by the way, I reserve the right to require a full five-member board in case I ever needed it.
There's no
on
such,
an appeal.
that's meaningless.
That's not meaningless by RSA's.
Yes, it is.
It's local ordinance, I have to go forward, but by the RSA's, I deserve a
Meaningless by
five-unit
RSA.
board. We've had that debate before.
Right, so we won't have it again tonight. Just, so, just to review what you said, let me just back up. I'll just play devil's advocate. How, if I can venture to say, it may seem to me, or to anyone that may or may not know, that this is almost like a self-imposed hardship, right? Do you follow what I'm saying? Like, this is already a non-conforming lot, right, with this three-family on here, the size lot, if you follow what I'm saying, and then we're making it smaller, that the new single-family would be conforming, but this would become even less conforming than it is. So just help me kind of re-justify that in my mind, to go over that.
One of the prime characteristics in a variance application is character of the neighborhood. We have a neighborhood of substantially non-conforming lots. A significant percentage of them are even of less density than what we're proposing and asking you to grant us tonight. Especially if I point out two of the largest abutting projects.
Oh, excuse me, they're asking for
Speak
the
into the
mic.
microphone, please.
Sorry.
If I point out two of the largest projects in the area, we have the Cornville Homes, which has had a density of 1,151 square feet per unit. That's half of what we're proposing. we have a project across the street of 30 units, which has 1,276 square feet per unit, which is half of what we're proposing. The character of this neighborhood is not RB density. The character of this neighborhood is substantially greater than that by several measures. We also have Arell Manor up the street, which has 1,600 square feet per unit here. Well, all these lots over here have similar high-density areas, many of which are even higher density than what I'm asking for tonight. So the idea that this is self-imposed, no, it's not self-imposed. The neighborhood is what it is. We only would like to conform to the neighborhood. We would like to use our property in the same manner that all our neighbors, the majority of our neighbors do. That is not a self-imposed hardship. That's the zoning for this particular section of the city is not correct. It's not an RB zone. It grossly exceeds that on a density basis. So the fact by RB criteria we may be non-conforming, that's neither here nor there because the neighborhood is not a conforming neighborhood. This is not a RB zone. This is some higher, very much higher density. It also is a mixed-use zone. Those of you, I'm sure all of us, have gone up and down Lake Street numerous times, and it's a very busy mixed-use neighborhood. It's loaded with all kinds of non-residential uses, such as auto dealers, such as repair shops, warehouses, an office building, et cetera. Yeah, so, again, this is not a self-imposed hardship. We would like to use our property in the same manner as our neighbors are allowed to use the property. That is a recognized criteria for a hardship character of the neighborhood. So that's my answer to your question, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak in favor of the application? Any, seeing none, anybody with questions, concerns, or opposition? Okay, seeing none, I guess we'll close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Any thoughts?
You have to read this in.
Yeah, I'll just go on the record that we have as was stated by the applicant, we have a letter from Rosewood Realty in favor of this project. Mr. Shaw.
I just don't, I can't support this. I mean, I appreciate Mr. Maynard's argument, but quite frankly, I do not see the hardship to justify taking something that's already significantly non-conforming and making it extremely non-conforming. I understand there's like a big chunk of that open space there, and it kind of begs for this kind of thing in one sense, but truly, it just, I don't see how there's a hardship. And again, despite Mr. Maynard's argument back to you, I tend to agree, if anything, it would be a self-imposed type of hardship. But the reality is, it's already non-conforming, and I don't see anything that's doing anything other than bringing greater density to this piece of property. And yes, there's a lot of other high density in the area, but it's not exclusively that. And also, if the applicant feels that this is not zoned correctly, there is always the method that can be pursued as far as getting it rezoned if there's justification for that.
Mr. Lionel.
I concur with Mr. Shaw for many of the same reasons. It's already a non-conforming use. Talking about the neighborhood, it depends on where you're looking. On the side of Lakeside Street that this property is on, properties are much larger and spread out. I don't believe this request is within the spirit and intent of the ordinance. I think it goes against both of those quite directly, and I can't support this.
Ms. McKay.
Well, it's a huge ask. Existing 13,610 to go down to 6, to leave the 3 family on 7,600. When I first saw this, I kind of just said, geez, I'm not so sure. It seems like an awful big ask. And I wanted to hear what the reasons were. And even though Mr. Maynard clearly stated it wasn't a self-imposed hardship, I kind of believe that it is. You're taking something that you know is not quite what it should be in the beginning, and you're making it even worse. And I know there's a lot of different things all up and down Lake Street. We all travel there. We know the church is there. We know Liamos Market is there. We know all of that is there. The firehouse, everything is there. But I'm inclined to concur with my fellow board members and not be in support of this. But I'm willing to listen. I just think that this is a really big ask.
Yeah, I also looked at it pretty hard, and I guess I couldn't get there either on there. And I again, heard Mr. Maynard, and I don't disagree with him. There is a lot going on Lake Street. But I also think that, when we're looking at the whole neighborhood, I mean, we can have arguments on either side, and I think that, for myself, I mean, this is why we're here, and I think in my judgment, that I feel that unfortunately for the applicant, I feel that this is somewhat self-imposed. And I think that, unless there's a zoning change or something like that, I guess, I'm right now, I just can't support it. Maybe not for as strong reasons as was stated, but I think that I'm clearly not being able to support the application. Is there any other discussion? Anybody like to make a motion? Mr. Shaw.
Okay, I'll make a motion on behalf of the owner, Matthew Lambert, address 90 Lake Street. The description is Matthew M. Lambert, owner, 90 Lake Street, sheet 102, lot 9, requesting variance from Land Use Code, section 190-16, table 16-3, for lot density to reduce existing 13,610 square foot lot with a 3-unit multifamily building to a 7,610 square foot lot, where 18,669 square feet are required, by subdividing off one 6,000 square foot lot to construct a new single-family home. This is in the RB/LB zone. The board does not believe that the zoning restrictions do interfere with the landowner's reasonable use of the property, that there is not sufficient unique setting of the property and its environment. The argument was made that there is a lot of higher density residents in the area, but that this would be taking already a fairly high non-conforming density usage and making it significantly more so. We do not also feel that is within the spirit and intent of the ordinance. There was testimony that this would be a positive effect on property values of surrounding parcels. I think the board feels that there's not necessarily significant effect one way or the other regarding property value effect. This would be contrary to public interest, and substantial justice would not be served. So for those reasons, I move to deny this area variance request.
Second by Mr. Lionel. Any discussion? All those in favor of denying this request? That's 4-0. Sorry, sir. The application's been denied, and as you know, there's a 3rd-day window of appeal. Thank you for coming. With that, I'll close case number 3. We have some meeting minutes that we'll go over. So we have meeting minutes from 2 sets, right? From May 28th and June 11th. So we'll on the May 28th meeting minutes. Does anybody see anything, or any corrections or anything? I know there was only 3 of us here. I read through those, I didn't see anything glaringly. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the May 28th, 2019 meeting minutes. Second by Mr. Shaw, all in favor? It's 4-0. Those are approved. Meeting minutes for July 19th, 2019.
mean June
Anybody?
June 11th?
Oh, June 11th, sorry. June 11th.
Yep. I didn't see any issues.
I didn't see any either. Ms. McKay, did you see anything? Were you here? No, you weren't.
No, June 11th?
Yeah,
No.
okay. All right, so with that, I'll make a motion to approve the June 11th, 2019 meeting minutes. Second by Mr. Lionel. All those in, any discussion? All those in favor? It's
Can I
4.
abstain?
Yes, you can vote.
vote?
Yeah,
Yeah.
4-0.
If I could vote on the first one, you can vote on the second one.
Thank you.
Those meeting minutes are approved. We have 3, right now we have 3 cases for the next meeting. On
July 9th,
July 9th.
July 9th, right. Does anybody see any regional impact? I didn't see any, but
Where is where in the city is the third one?
That's off of Amherst Street by by Thornton Road. There's that bank, the silo, it's kind of.
Oh, it used to be National Federal Savings, long
Back
time.
at like the Valvoline station. back-
Custom Tech College, right?
Oh, okay, it's down there, all right.
Right, so-
I don't see any.
All right, we don't see any regional impact. Any other discussion? Anybody like to make a motion? Mr. Shaw?
Adjourn.
Adjourned
Motions
at
to adjourn?
7:36.
Second by Mr. Lionel, all in favor? 4-0. We are adjourned at 7:36. Thank you.